Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you to join us today for the presentation of our new consumer behavior report regarding the theme of serendipitous celebration. So let's start with the program. So just for a reminder, the team on the new data for fashion. So I'm Gloria Goetz. I'm a key account manager in Heuritech. I'm in charge to support our clients in the discovery of our product and the implementation of our solution within their daily routine and within their project regarding the forecast, regarding the prediction, the trend prediction. Thank you. Today I will present the consumer behavior report with Morgan. Morgan, I'll let you introduce you.
Hi everyone, I'm Morgan, I'm fashion analyst at Heuritech and I'm very excited to present to you this report.
Thank you, Morgan. We are also with Marion and Julie, who will assist us to the presentation. But as you can see, we have 8 people and we are very exciting every day to prepare each day the program of new data for fashion in Heuritech. Another reminder, so Heuritech is a SaaS solution who helps fashion players to adjust the timing of their collection plan to the reality of the market. We are currently 50 people and we have 3 offices worldwide. And today we will discuss about the theme serendipitous celebration. Just to start with this citation from Vogue. So as Vogue writes it, Heuritech has turned social media into an AI tool that predicts the development of trends and work with the world leaders in luxury, fashion and sport industry like I have shown you on the previous slide. So far, each day, Heuritech analyzes millions of images on social media to understand what consumers want. This is largely thanks to Heuritech in-house visual recognition technology, which recognize more than 2,000 fashion details and attributes in any given image from a specific model to general trend, including colors, pattern, materials, environment, texture products, shapes, and more, of course. With forecasting algorithms, Heuritech can predict how trend will evolve to 1 year in advance and with it, within which customer base. So the collective experience that we have just gone through has led us on the path of introspection and withdrawal. If for some this period was synonymous of well-being, as we have presented to you last week regarding the comfort reports, for others, and especially the younger generation, it's turned out to be a real test. The Gen Z are being digital native. They have been overly impacted by this lockdown. This generation that was already scared of missing out was quarantined, emphasizing this behavior, and it has changed not only the realm of fashion, but the way they seek to be addressed by brands, since they spend so much time on social media. So I will let our fashion analyst Morgan to present the this serendipitous theme and present you the agenda.
Thank you, Gloria, for this introduction. So for this second report that we've done for the New Data Fashion program, we really wanted to put the spotlight on this theme that we've identified as a key social media during the lockdown, and that we decided to call this serendipitous celebration. So we chose this title because serendipity means a gift of making happy discoveries by chance. And we wanted by this term to really illustrate the joy of connecting to simple joys of life and to what this period could bring back in terms of spontaneity and appreciation of the present. And as you probably have noticed, the quarantine led to the emerging desire to be entertained in a festive way. And this throughout and post lockdown, especially among Gen Z users. All of this we saw resulted in a clear fashion inclination on social media towards brighter colors, fabrics, and prints to light up this sometimes stressful period. But it also led brands to engage with their consumer in a more creative way. So the first part of this report will focus on communication best practices. And with that, we gathered relevant examples of communication strategies from brands who successfully managed to connect with their community. And we emphasized on the importance of reconsidering the manner of addressing these consumers and how determining that could be for the future of a brand, big or small. And the second part will be focused on the vibrant trend forecasting. So we then picked a selection of trends which have been very visible in this period and really embodied this celebratory mood that we've witnessed on social media. And to do so, we used our predictive analytics to understand whether their momentum would fade away once the lockdown was over, or if there were trends that you could potentially bet on your next collection. So distant social interaction. Here we emphasize on the importance to reconsider the way you address consumers and how determining that could be for the future of the brand. And here we explain why. So why engaging with Gen Z is so important? According to Global Web Index, young people aged between 16 and 24 spend an average of 7 hours per day online, 3 of which were spent exclusively on social media. And according to a recent article from Vogue Businesses, they represent 40% of global consumers. And as you may have noticed, I'm sure, they are very uneasy consumers to connect with because they are fast learners and they expect so much from brands. But when it is successful, the results are very promising for businesses. But with this worldwide shutdown, the Gen Z have been seeking reassurance and comfort through digital support. And they also expected brands to guide them through this rough path. Therefore, we believe that the time, the message, and content surveyed by the brand could really determine its future among this audience through and post COVID-19. And seemingly the reason why Gen Z feels so disconnected is because they watch their peers being busy on social media by either learning a new skill, starting a hobby, fixing up their house, reminding them constantly that they're not. And it's a great opportunity for you and for brands to reassure your community that it is all right to be passive at the moment. And also in order to uplift their spirit and try to entertain them by making them feel that they're being active and they have achieved something really. And this is something that is even more relevant now to make up for all the loss they suffered. So why care about FOMO now? So FOMO is also known as fear of missing out, is identified as a pervasive apprehension that others might be having rewarding experiences from which one is absent. It is well known among Gen Z, and it's often described as an anxiety and disruptive behavior triggered by the feeling of being left out of something, like digital events with friends, learning a new skill, or a celebration of any kind, really.
Just a moment, Morgan. I just want to be sure that the FOMO concept is well understood by our attendees today. So don't hesitate to tell us if it is clear for you, the FOMO concept, because it is the base of this report. So we need to check if we have well explained the FOMO here for you.
Yes, totally. It's a good idea. Please don't hesitate if you have any questions, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reading that someone says it's extremely clear, and yes, all good. Cool, amazing. Well, I'll continue.
Thank you, Morgan.
So
sorry, I have a question on the question and answer from Sébastien Perret that asked for please explain the FOMO concept. So we need to have a little stop here.
Yes, of course. So
Yes.
basically, the FOMO is for most of Gen Z, it's really the fear of missing out on important events, especially during this quarantine. I've seen many of my friends, for instance, starting a new skill. I have a friend doing pottery, another one learning a new language. And this was reminding me constantly that I was not doing that. And instead of, you know, pushing me to try a new thing, it kind of pushed me into that anxiety and that stressful state where I kept, you know, telling myself that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't making a good use of my time like the others. And this was an extreme pressure on my shoulders because I was constantly reminded of that on social media. Is it a bit more, is it clearer?
Sebastian, you can reply to us on the chat.
All clear.
Cool, amazing.
Good.
So it has been, I wasn't totally finished, sorry, Gloria. Cool.
No, it's okay, it's me.
So it has been widely noticed that FOMO has accelerated and been emphasized through this time of quarantine, as I just mentioned. And despite all these attempts to self-care, most people, especially younger generations, are facing feelings of depression, loneliness, and sometimes panic attacks. And the 18-year-old high school student, Roger Linzel, even says that being a senior, and I think a lot of my lasts taken away, was a little heartbreaking, which I totally relate to. Okay, flamboyant generation. This is really my favorite slide. So youth has always been a melting pot of style and new ideas, and clothes have always been a vehicle for claiming identity. And the Gen Z, by belonging to the era of the whole internet, has access to a multitude of influences and possibility for dissemination regarding these ideas. And they have a strong need for connection, and they are deeply connected with the world. Their style, to me, is an identity card that they show to millions of people and for which they experiment and sometimes break codes. And somehow the lockdown inhibited them. And its end really marks the beginning of a joyous celebration of the return to normal, coupled with an increased desire to show their personality and flamboyance. So, community entertainment. This is very important because the brands that have been very reactive with the relevant content are the ones that were most likely to create a connection with their audiences. And this connection is enabling these same brands to remain present and pertinent throughout and after the COVID-19. But social distancing didn't mean the end of social interaction. And brands should really be seen as genuine and aspiring leaders of digital interactions. And so we come up with some examples of brand with original ways to challenge social distancing through digital means in order to connect with their followers. So these actions were taken during and after the COVID-19, so just so you know. So the first one is the brand Chloe that decided to launch Chloe Voices during the confinement. And they shared very genuine and creative, uplifting content with the help of various artists that have been showcased in the brand's feed. Also, Fenty organized a huge club event, inviting all its community and sharing good music and just good time through Instagram. But also the luxury house Chanel played along by showcasing a live performance of the singer Angèle. And all of these really gave the opportunity for the community to connect with the brand and really see themselves within the brand. And also more linked to the customization mania that you've probably seen on social media. Dickies are teaming up with the Right Dye brand to give away tie and dye care package along with tutorials to show how to use them in a creative way. But also a Cold Wool was selling its dead stock fabric in order to give an opportunity for the community to embrace a new hobby during the lockdown. So social media, and we decided to put the spotlight on Instagram because obviously this is where we do most of our analysis. But even though this is not, these are not our data, they were part of our analysis, and we believe that it was very important to mention it as part of our research. So the sources are Instagram and Piper Jaffray, and what we've noted that was important that users on average are likely to spend 53 minutes per day on the platform, and 60% of people say that they discover a new product on Instagram, which is a lot. More than 200 million Instagrammers visit at least one's business profile per day. And 73% of Gen Z shoppers in the US want brands and retailers to connect with them about a new product and promotion through Instagram. And a third of most viewed stories are from businesses. So a few actions done on Instagram recently. So a lot of brands have launched challenges in order to connect with audiences, like Hermes with the Silk Challenge, or Versace with the Very Versace, where you had to find a creative way to do the V of Versace. But also Gani, that has been encouraging its fans to take part of the Gani WFH challenge. So it's funny because it started as an internal initiative for the team to keep in touch and show off their work from home outfits. This is what the WFH stands for, work from home. And they thought that it would be a great idea to open this challenge to its Instagram community, which I think is great. But also Nicola Heller, also known as New York Nico, that launched a competition on Instagram for the best New York t-shirt. And it really rallied thousands of contestants to design the best t-shirt. This is one of my favorite ones. Keep New York old, but rotten. This is really cool. And most recently, MSGM was calling on its followers to design the brand new logo for the Italian brand. And title Logos for the Future, the initiative asked MSGM's followers to create an original logo and post it on Instagram with the hashtag, which is another creative way to include your community and also use your community, because they are an incredible source of creativity. Social media and the spotlight on TikTok, because TikTok has been really mentioned this past 3 months, especially during the lockdown, because Gen Z really wanted to connect with others. And to me, TikTok was the best social media out there to be able to do that. And a few key takeaways on this app. So it's the world's most downloaded non-gaming app with over 1.5 billion downloads, which really makes you think. And the users on average are likely to spend 52 minutes per day on TikTok, which is very close to Instagram. And this is a crazy number. There are more followers following the top 50 TikTok creators than the population of the US, UK, Canada, Mexico, and Australia combined. This drives me nuts. And 30% of the Gen Z surveyed reporting a strong interest in fashion or beauty had used TikTok in the last month. So the very relevant community as well. All the sources are from Forbes and Vogue Business. So a few actions done on TikTok that I thought was relevant. First, I've seen many influencers on Instagram that have switched to TikTok or trying to use the two platforms, such as Young Emperors, they're widely known on Instagram. And if you don't know them, please check them out because they're very, very, very cool. And they decided to embrace the quarantine to engage with a new community on TikTok. We have many designers and brands like Jacques Mus, Olivier Roustin from Balmain, GW Anderson that have recently joined the platform. And this way, people and designers are able to create content by sharing, fashion tips, outfits, looks, and challenges with the comfort of being home, which really was emphasized during the lockdown. And I do really believe that the brands that will encourage their followers to share creative content through challenges, like the Jump Around Challenge by GW Understand, we will enable young people to feel like part of the movement and really identify within the brand, which is what you're looking for. And so just to give you a last example, which I thought was very interesting, Crocs did a collaboration with Post Malone, and they launched, as a campaign, they decided to launch a challenge on TikTok. And it was very, very popular. So popular that the first drop of the collaboration sold in an hour and a half. So just to finish, few key takeaways. Involved and leverage your community. Take leverage of your community. That is an incredible source of creativity and inspirational new content. The Gen Z in particular, because they are natural digital users and creators. And, you know, having these interactive campaigns with them can really strengthen your connection. Second is build genuine content. Try a new way to communicate with your audience that would be more emotional oriented. And third, be understanding and compassionate in your speech. Don't only focus on sales, but try to understand how your consumers might feel at the moment and what could you do to generally help them. Okay, so most fun part, the trends. So with all the analysis we did on the Gen Z, it's time to see how all these consumer attitudes impacted the fashion trends. And this is really our core value at Heuritech, giving quantitative insight about trends and making sure that they are sustainable through time. So we're very, very happy at Heuritech to be able to share with you these quantitative insights. The aim is really to help you understand among all these celebrative trends that arose during lockdown, which one will actually last and are worth betting on for your next collections. Anyways, we are sharing in this report exclusive predictive data on the behavior of selected trends in Europe and in the US. So the images we selected here are really a point of the, to express the kind of trends we want to show and the good feeling of the prints and the textures and the colors that have been highlighted on social media. So first, the statement prints, and I'll start with the psychedelic tie and dye. Gloria, it's the next trend. Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, I have some problem with my computer for now, so let me just fix it.
No worries.
So,
it's the, you don't have the psychedelic tie and dye slide?
I think so. I don't have it on, anyway, I can switch. I think I have it. No, I don't have it. It's really strange. Oh no, here.
Here, but it seems like it's hidden. It's weird. Okay, you can just leave it here. It's fine. I can read through like this.
Yes, I'm sorry, community, but I will switch on the big screen after this one, I think.
That's perfect. Thank you. So the tie and dye trend has been out there for decades, but it really made its big comeback in 2020. The trend that is mostly related to the hippie era emerged rapidly, especially in the past couple of months. And it really became, at least to me, I don't know about you, but it became a fun, uplifting trend to wear while stuck at home. And it really echoes with the growing DIY vibe, which many people have been surfing on during lockdown period. And its momentum definitely did not pass. We predict at Heuritech that within the next 12 months to come, the tie and dye prints visibility will be strongly growing in Europe and bursting in the US. So in a closer future, I think it's really a key print to highlight in your summer 2020 collection, with an impressive growth rate of 46% in Europe and 62% in US versus last summer. and it will keep growing fast through fall 2020, gaining 25% in Europe and 31% in the US compared to last fall. So definitely a trend to include in your assortment, whether you're targeting US or Europe. And the print really brings a playful dimension to your basics, such as sweatshirt, t-shirt, sweatpants. And we've always been saying before, think about maybe a way to include a care package, like a DIY basic sweatshirt with few dyes and tutorials to show your community how to use it. That could be very interesting. Next one is the floral infusion.
Let me come back. Yes.
Cool, thank you. So
You're
naturally infused within the print, flowers have made an elegant comeback within the fashion landscape, and I'm very happy about this trend. It really calls for this nostalgic filters that reminds us of our grandmother's blossom printed curtains. And I've recently seen this print in various warm and bright tones, like orange, red, and yellow. That seems to be the favorite tones for this print. And I feel like it gives that sunny retro twist that I really like. But what's interesting to note is that the floral print will have a different behavior in Europe and in the US in the next 12 months. So in Europe, it will keep growing very fast, reaching a more mainstream consumer target. And the growth will be very high in summer and lower, but still quite high in fall. In the US, on the other hand, the trend will be mostly attractive to a trendy audience. And the commercial potential is still high, but its dynamic is a bit slower. So for instance, in summer, we know the double-digit growth rates to come, but it will slow down in fall to remain flat versus last year. Bold graphics. So that really brings back that sweet appeal to our favorite t-shirts, and the graphic prints really entered our wardrobe as a classic of the seasons to me. So it is often mixed with saturated colors and original design. And I feel like the bold graphics were really highlighted on Instagram through this quarantine. And the star of the moment is Takashi Murakami, who recently did a collaboration for Uniqlo, teaming up with the young artist Billie Eilish. And I can't wait to see the results. It's a really brimful of saturated colors, amusing characters, and the collection really calls for our inner child with a youthful appeal. But what's interesting is that the consumer segmentation concerns everyone equally, meaning that the trend has spread to all consumer segments and it is massively adopted by the whole market, which is a good opportunity for you. And this trend is a safe bet both in Europe and US in the coming year, and its dynamic will overall stay stable. But looking at next season growth rates, we see that the trends to emphasize on this summer with a 6% visibility in Europe and a 10% growth visibility in the US. But the dynamic will stabilize through fall. Now the bright colors. This is my favorite part. And I don't know about you guys, but I've really noticed that I've been buying more saturated color on my clothes recently. So color is a powerful medium to communicate feelings and emotion, and therefore there are no wonders that people on social media will share colorful outfits in order to brighten their day in this challenging phase. Bright pink to me goes along with that general relief ambiance we're experiencing. And the color seems to be a safe bet for your next collection. So we predict at Heuritech that within the next 12 months to come, bright pink color will remain stable in Europe and slightly grow in the US. So if you're interested in the US market, know that the color trend will experience a double-digit positive growth for summer 2020 versus last year, and a 5% growth for fall 2020. And what's interesting to note also is that the trend will be very appealing to a trendy audience in the US. Orange red. So slowly rising up in the Instagram feed, the orange red color immediately grabs your attention and lifts up the spirits. This is a playful, quirky color that reminds us of younger, more peaceful days. And especially after being deprived of social contact, now is the time where we want to give in to any of our guilty pleasure, starting by buying this, beautiful orange dress that I didn't dare to buy before. It is not a surprise that it is overly represented by the edgy segmentation, and this color could be used as a part of your trendy product of your collection split. However, it has a different behavior in Europe and in US. So in Europe, the trend will keep its attractivity, and it will be slowly growing in the next 12 months compared to last year, especially next summer with a 9% increase in visibility. And as for fall 2020, it remains flat, which makes sense. And in the US, on the other hand, the momentum seems to be stopped past lockdown, and we predict a slow decrease starting right after summer 2020 and confirmed in fall. Last but not least, mint. It's a refreshing color that we all need, I'm sure. With the name alone, we get that sense of fresh air that we've been lacking. And despite being a cooler tone, the color reflects all the exciting days ahead of us with the glance of surrealist escape that we've all been looking for. So the mint color will not only be visible during lockdown, but will keep increasing in the coming 12 months at a moderate pace in Europe and at a slow pace in the US. Similarly, more popular among edgy in Europe and trendy people in the US, the trend shows an interesting rise for summer 2020, where it will grow respectively in the Europe and US by 19 and 18%. As for fall 2020, the trend will be popular in Europe, showing 11% growth, but decreased by 5% in the US. Don't worry, I know I'm speaking super fast, but you can get the presentation later on. So the dazzling fabrics. We'll start with taffeta. This is my favorite one. This fine lustrous silk fabric was for a long time reserved to privileged social ranks, and today it's finding its way back to us with extravagant shapes and dramatic sleeves. The fabric is perfect to really create this dramatic look that the Gen Z is probably all looking for, and it mixed with saturated and bright colors, it would really bring that bold impact that the consumers will remember. So the sometimes dramatic shapes of the fabric is very popular in both regions, especially among edgy people who seem to have adopted the fabric. However, Europe will be the region where the trend shows the most potential. It will be strongly growing over the next 12 months, according to our prediction, especially in summer 2020, with a very high 32% increase in visibility and 16% increase for fall 2020. Whereas in the USA, the trend will be high season in fall, but slowly growing by 7% compared to last year. Sheer material. This is very interesting because when we started this report, we thought that sheer fabrics and sheer materials would be very popular among the Gen Z, but it turned out that not so much. So because the sheer materials bring that sensitive touch and sensual appeal that we've all been deprived of for the past few months. And despite being popular among edgy and trendy people, the trend will slowly decrease throughout the year in both regions. So the sheer fabrics will remain flat in Europe for summer 2020, but decrease by 6% in the US. And then for fall 2020, the trend will equally decrease by 7% in Europe and in the US. So not the material to bet on next. Accessories. So we wanted to dedicate a whole slide to this because even despite the fact that we don't have any data on it yet, we thought it was important to mention gloves and masks. So while social distancing is at its peak, the gloves and masks could really emphasize the pandemic era we're going through. But with shiny leather, soft silk, and dazzling fabrics, the gloves and masks could really add the elegance and the boldness to that physical protection that has been imposed upon us. So as for the gloves, they have been spotted during the fall 2020 shows. And they were omnipresent, from the raw, pure minimalism to Saint Laurent's sensual textures and Marc Jacobs' quaint elegance. The overly long gloves took over the landscape of fashion. And as for the masks, few designers were ahead of time. And despite being designed for air pollution, Marine Serre, Virgil Abloh, and Rick Owens really were ahead of time and became quite relevant through the confinements. But now many wonders what the next print, color, or fabric will be on the mask. I guess time and data will tell us if this really becomes a real trend. So, well, that's all for me. I hope it was insightful, and don't hesitate to ask any question if you'd like more information or clarify something. I'd be happy to answer with Gloria.